Hello, this is GG Mega Aim 17, and today I am going to be reviewing Ciara's fifth studio album entitled Ciara. So yes, this is a self-entitled album, and I will be reviewing it. So I get to review one of these. Yay! I guess. Unfortunately, I'm not going to sound as optimistic throughout the rest of the review because there's not really much to say about it. Or at least I don't have that much to say about it. However, I will say this before I get into the review, which is that I did not hate this album. And the reason why I'm saying this is because for anyone that's seen my last four album reviews, which honestly the only album reviews I've actually done so far, I haven't really been positive throughout the album reviews. But then again, I haven't really listened to an album in recent time that I've actually, inherently enjoyed. So unfortunately, this album is no different. But I didn't dislike it or hate it. There aren't really things that flat out pissed me off about this album like some of the other ones I've reviewed. But it wasn't really anything exciting either. That's the problem. This album is pretty much just another R&B hip hop club album. That's all it really is. And I'm pretty disappointed with that because you would think that because one, this is a self-entitled album she's released, and two, this is like her I think this was like her big comeback that you think she'd actually do something a little more, groundbreaking. Or at least something a little more personal, but I guess not. Oh well, I guess that's how the cookie crumbles, I suppose. There weren't really any tracks that stood out to me except for two. Which is funny because originally when I listened to this, there was no tracks that stood out to me, but there actually are two that stood out to me. Unfortunately, both of them feature Nicki Minaj on them. And for anyone that's seen my Roman Reloaded and the Re-Up album review, you would know I am not a fan of Nicki Minaj's music, or at least her mainstream stuff. But then again, I really can't comment on her underground stuff because I haven't really, listened to it. I've only heard like one song from her underground days, which was like decent. So I will know she's at least a decent rapper. But everything's been releasing like mainstream is pretty like subpar to down just bad. And her features on this album pretty much ranges between like subpar and mediocre. Her first feature is on the first track, which was straight up mediocre because she does a lot of the same stupidity. Or at least she says a lot of the same stupidity she kind of did in Rolling Reloaded. Well, not as bad, but it's still kind of bad though. And one of my other issues with that is the fact that she's on that song for way too long. It feels more like it was Nicki Minaj featuring Ciara than Ciara featuring Nicki Minaj. But that's kind of what happens, I guess, when you have rappers on an R&B album. Sometimes they take up too much space. Not all the time, but I don't know. It's just something that's been happening over recent time. I would say since the last few years, that's kind of what's been happening. Unfortunately. The second track featured on is it's not as because it sounds more like her more softer songs. So it was at least tolerable and decent. But that's about it. That's all I really have to say about it. The beats were they were solid beats, but they were really forgettable. Her singing on this album, or singing in general, is just average. Like Ciara, I never found to be like a great singer. I always thought she was like an average singer, and she really is. Or at least compared to other singers I've heard throughout time, she's average. No offense to any Ciara fans. And that's the other thing too. If you're like a hardcore Ciara fan or you're a big fan of club music, this is the album for you. However, if you're not like me, you don't really care for this type of stuff, this is not the album for you. This is the first time I've ever listened to a Ciara album in full because I've only listened to like her singles and I was always like indifferent to them. Like at times I would be like, "Ooh, listen to," like if you're partying, I guess. But as a whole, I was always like, whatever. And that's pretty much how I felt like when I was listening to this entire album. Cause I actually lost interest like halfway through the album. I was like, all right, next track, next track, next track. So yeah, that's pretty much the album. That's pretty much my review of this album in a nutshell. It's an average R&B hip hop club album. I give it a 6 out of 10 for average. If you're a hardcore CR fan and you enjoy club music like this, you'll enjoy it. If you're If you don't, you'll either feel indifferent to it or you wouldn't like it as much. But I don't think anyone's gonna flat out hate this album. Because there's nothing, except for like the Nicki Minaj features, there's nothing really to hate about the album. It's a pretty good album actually. It's just really average. Painfully average kind of. So yeah, that's my album review in a nutshell. Sorry if it wasn't extra exciting, but I really don't have much to say about it. So before I end this album review, I will mention albums I will be reviewing in the future, which would be Lady Gaga's new album, Katy Perry's new album, Avril Lavigne's new album, Fall Out Boy's new album, Imagine Dragons' new album, Kelly Rowland's new album, Justin Timberlake's 2020 Experience both parts, Robin Thicke's new album, Daft Punk's new album, because I still haven't listened to that in full, Tamar Braxton's new album. I think the lady's name is called Michelle Christie. I'm not sure. But her new album, J. Cole's new album, Mac Miller's new album, Eminem's new album, when that finally comes out, Dre's new album, if that ever comes out, and 50 Cent's new album is when that comes out, if I can actually sit through that. I think that's pretty much everyone I plan on reviewing. Oh, and another artist that a friend of mine slash YouTuber requested of me to review. Some singer that appeared on The Voice. I'm going to review that person's album or just make a video about them in general. So if there's any people you want me to review, or if there's any people you want me just to make a video about in general, like any recording artists, just let me know. So that's pretty much it. This is DJ Mega 17 signing out. Leave a comment, subscribe, and have a good day.